Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Outside the Cinema. I'm Bill. That's Chris. We're here to talk about cult movies.
Yeah.
It's cool. Yeah. It's cool. A lot of other people do it, too.
They do.
We've been doing it longer than most of them.
Yeah.
Does that make us better? Yes. Yes, I do believe it does.
Sure, I don't care. Go. Yeah.
It's another episode. You're still listening. We appreciate it. We are running through Patreon picks right now. If you are not a Patreon member, you should be. If you like the show, best way to support it. But this week we're doing two of Carl's picks.
And is Carl a real person this time?
Must be dropping this one off. Say it again.
Carl a real person this time?
Carl is a real person.
That's what I thought.
Carl's a real person, and I have to. I guess I have to divulge my business relationship with Carl.
Oh,
because he's the mind behind Dark Matter Films.
That's right.
Which is the current distribution home for The Woodsman.
Right. So
which not all of you have watched.
He's not your pimp, then.
No, he's not.
I still haven't met your pimp. So wait, am I your pimp?
I don't have a pimp. I'm my own pimp. I pimp myself out.
Yeah.
Which means I will appear on your podcast if you request it. No, yeah, Carl's the dude from Dark Matters or Dark Matters.
You should know.
I should know. But yeah, The Woodsman is available to watch through them on YouTube currently exclusively. We're getting into the holiday season. Mm-hmm. Watch The Woodsman. Yeah. It's 13 minutes. It's free. It's not going to cost you anything. Mm-hmm. I know you all haven't watched it. I've looked at the numbers.
I've watched it.
I know what our listenership is.
I've watched it.
Yeah, I have too. Yeah. Many times. It's fun though. The Woodsman, we're really proud of it. Kyle did an incredible job with it. Really happy with the way it came out. We're going into the holidays. It's a Christmas themed horror short. Check it out. You guys will like it. I promise. I promise. It's the only narrative thing OTC Industries has done, so I recommend it. Yeah. We have another one coming soon. We have another documentary coming soon. We got stuff. We got. What's the term? Irons and fires.
Yeah, we have a bunch of irons in the fire. That sounds weird.
It does sound weird when you start to think about it, but we do have a lot of irons in the fire.
Yeah,
fires. Is it multiple fires? Multiple irons within multiple fires? Is it one fire?
It depends how successful your blacksmith is, I think. Because if he's not successful, it would be zero.
I have no idea.
So
I have no idea how successful he is. I do know that he'd be more successful if you guys dialed up YouTube and watched the Woodsman.
Dialed up, cool. I like that. Dialed up YouTube. Beep, beep, boop, boop, boop.
Dial it up. Call in. Caller, turn your radio down. First time, long time. Thanks for coming.
I don't even own a radio. What?
We should start doing the show specifically just over ham radio.
Yeah.
Oh, imagine that.
I can.
Imagine that.
It's a bad idea, but I can definitely see us doing.
But yeah, if you like the show, support the things that we do. The best way to support Outside the Cinema as a podcast is to go over to patreon.com/outside the cinema. Join the Patreon. $5 monthly donation gets you access to our massive show archive. You also get exclusive stuff released to the Patreon feed. You get all of the shows early. You get them on Mondays, Mondays or Tuesdays normally, rather than having to wait till Thursday or Friday to receive it on the public feed. And you can make requests, just like Carl from Dark Matter Film. He did his choice. He had given us a list of a few films. We chose two out of them. The Blood of Heroes, also known more commonly under the title Salute of the Jugger,
which is a weird
starring
name.
Rutger Hauer. Well, when you watch the movie, it's not a weird name. But it's a lazy name. Actually, both lazy names.
But it's a weird set of syllables and vowels and it's just it's like goo. That's what the word sounds to me. It's like goo. Want to go play goo?
Well, it's an Australian production, so it makes a lot of sense to think of it that way. Glay.
No, that's Jerry Lewis. No, we're not going there.
Same thing. And his other flick that we chose to do, Tomorrow I'll Wake Up and Scald Myself with Tea. This is a first for Outside the Cinema. 15, almost 16 years into the show, we have a Czechoslovakian comedy.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't think we've ever even, we might have covered a Czechoslovakian film at some point, but we've definitely never covered a Czechoslovakian comedy. This is from 1977. Weird little sci-fi comedy flick. So
I'm going to move this to the other side.
Yeah, very. These are, and this is Carl made some good picks that are going to be interesting to talk about.
Yeah.
So if you are not a Patreon member, I ask you kindly and politely to join patreon.com/outside the cinema. We could use some more picks. We've got a bunch of people that are members that haven't sent us picks yet. So, and then also, okay, so we had a couple of picks for from Andre. He wanted us to do a couple of Beat Takashi flicks. Okay. He wanted us to do Sonneton and Fireworks, and they're just really not available in the United States right now. I even went down the torrent road to try to find a couple copies of them and couldn't. Huh. So if anybody out there has copies of them or knows where we can get them for a fairly inexpensive price, let us know. The Beat Takashi stuff I'm not super familiar with. I know I've seen a couple of his things, but I was a little surprised at how unavailable in the streaming world his stuff is, which was interesting.
You know, that's too grim. Never mind. What I was going to suggest is, he is getting older. So if you withhold the product when he dies, everybody will buy it up.
Well, maybe.
I'm just
thinking it's distribution.
It could be. Sorry. It could be. But that's also like, hey, we have the sorry, we got the Du Jour box set all ready to go. It just straight. People have no scruples, so it wouldn't surprise me.
True.
This is because I watched half of a movie I wasn't supposed to watch. This is why I'm like this today.
No, but we're gonna watch it next week. So
definitely break it up. I would suggest.
Yeah. Okay. So just a heads up. So next week we're covering one of Shane's picks, "Hard to Be a God," which is a Russian flick.
Yep. It's a Russian sci-fi novel that takes place in the Noon universe, which is actually very large, and I did not know about.
I'm unfamiliar with it. I just am knowing that it's 3.5 hours long. And usually Russian cinema in general is usually very heavy. And I know you texted me last night to be like, well, I watched half of it.
And I'm sure you're looking at it like, what the fuck is he talking about?
So the real question, though, is going to be, is it going to be the only thing we're going to cover next week because it is so long? Right. And is it going to be enough to carry a whole episode?
I think you'll know within a half hour.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Or not.
Unrelated to this.
I mean, I went like all over the place with it in the first 10 minutes. It's just crazy.
All right. Well, I'm going to start it probably tomorrow. So
okay, good.
I did watch that new Hulu documentary, Monster Inside, which is about Russ McKamey, who runs McKamey Manor. Highly recommended watch. It's So if you don't know anything about extreme haunts and stuff, McKamey Manor is the most extreme, but what McKamey Manor has become is it's not a haunted house anymore. It's basically this guy fulfilling his fucking dark fantasies of fucking torturing people. And it's a really interesting watch. And there's a whole big thing going on YouTube right now too, of people trying to out him for what he really is. I watch a lot of YouTube, but I don't really necessarily watch a lot of like influencer YouTube, right. But this dude Reckless Ben, if anyone's familiar with what he does, his big thing right now is basically to make Russ McKamey's life a living hell, and I am 100% here for it. And the way he's doing it through his channel on YouTube is masterful. Masterful.
That's good to hear, because I worked in the haunt industry for like 9 years or whatever, and everything about the extreme haunts just feels wrong to me.
I agree.
I never liked it. We had rules in Salem. You don't touch the actors, or they'll touch you. And there, at one point we had a girl that was doing an exorcist thing, and she's wearing a nightie, and she's in a bed. It's college town, it's Halloween, so the instant the girls would say, he touched me, 8 guys would show up from the darkness and surround the person and just walk them out. Because you don't do that. That's just, I don't, it's not that I don't like it. Like my feelings, personal feelings about it is just like, oh, fucking burn it with fire. But that's not a haunt at that point. If you feel like you're going to get violated, that's not a scare. That's terror.
Right. And I think I don't even think it's a fine line between the two anymore. I really think like the extreme haunt stuff is people that are looking to fulfill some sort of desire.
Yeah.
Whether sexual in nature or not. I mean, I think a lot of that stuff always kind of dials back to it.
It's, and power, control. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're looking, so the people that are taking part in them and then the people that are running them, I think is, as long as there's a connection there and you understand what you're getting into, like if you were to visit, an S&M provider or something like that. Like as long as you're entering the contract and like understanding what's going to happen, what the limits are and stuff, whatever. I don't care what people do. But what's really interesting about McCamey is that like he blurs all those fucking lines and is basically like, well, once you sign this paperwork, you can do whatever. I can do whatever I want.
Yeah, but
he's
not
also
really
like shysty
legal.
people, so.
I would say, is it? I mean, if you're like,
he's never gotten in trouble, which is, I think, which is the most fascinating thing. And they look at that in the documentary, and the Reckless Ben stuff is what Ben's doing is really interesting because he's managed to flip it back onto McCamey. And they did this episode a couple weeks ago where basically they changed a bunch of the wording in the contract, and he went out and like bought the LLC of McCamey Manor.
Oh no!
And basically now like owns the LLC. Owns the website, and they changed this thing around and basically like started to torture Russ in like a completely different way. Like they're not like waterboarding him or like making him crawl through mud, but just making his life a living hell. And their whole thing was like, hey, this can all end. All you got to do is go out and have pizza with us.
Huh.
That's the thing. They wrote into the contract is that, Russ is relieved from whatever, as long as he sits and has pizza with us. It's really fascinating stuff.
That's weird.
McCamey guy's a scumbag.
That's weird.
But,
like, and then what? What are they going to poison him? Like, what is the deal?
No, it's about the power exchange.
Oh, gotcha.
And that's why it's why he won't do it, because he has to be the one in control.
Well,
but now that he's lost control, he's going through the manor is like their whole idea.
In real life.
Like, yeah.
All right.
Real life, or like they're looking at it because there's a part where he calls the cops on them and they're like, well, we have all the paperwork that says, we're the owners, and like he signed this contract, and it's really fascinating stuff. Obviously the Hulu documentary doesn't, it kind of tiptoes around some things, but there's definitely like their agenda is very much to be like that this guy is torturing people and taking it too far, and somebody needs to do something about it.
Interesting. All right. Yeah, I was afraid this was going to like hype it up. So I stayed away from it.
No. And that's what they go into that too. Whereas like back in the day when he was in California, he had an actual haunted house, and like it was like, people would come and buy tickets and they would go through the haunted house, and there was like scenes, and like now it's literally just him in his like backyard, like making people carry barrels on their back, and like the whole thing is like, oh, you're going to get the tour, but you got to do this stuff, but nobody ever makes it through the stuff at the beginning to get to the tour. And so they're like, there is no haunted house. Like, you're hiring this guy to torture you.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. It's fascinating.
It's an abstract thing then, isn't it? It's for me, it's kind of like movies. Like I always used to joke that we would sell tickets to a memory, because you go in, you may buy popcorn and stuff, but you're leaving with nothing but a memory of what just happened. And that's a strange thing to sell. Yes, you're entertained, but there's no lasting unless you choose to remember it. And it sounds like he's doing that kind of thing where it's like, I'm going to sell you the fear of the tour, not.
Yeah.
So, all right. I'll just watch The House is October Built and Haunt if I want that kind of entertainment. But I am going to watch Ben's stuff here. So,
Yeah, Ben's stuff is good. I like him.
yeah.
But I'd say check out the documentary, too. It's the same people that made Haunters.
Oh, okay. Okay.
That documentary, Haunters, from a few years ago. I think McCamey Manor was part of that.
That would make sense. Yeah. If they see a little bit, then that would pique any documentary's interest.
Right.
All right. Nice.
Okay. All right. Let's get into these reviews. Let's do Tomorrow I'll Spill Tea on Myself first.
Okay.
I'm not going to play a trailer because it's in Czechoslovakian and it's not going to help you at all. But this film, Tomorrow I'll Wake Up and Scald Myself with Tea. Original title, prepare for me to butcher it, Zitra Vastanu Aparium Se Kajam. I guess that's not too bad.
I guess, I mean, if you're going off phonetical pronunciation, but if there's any weird symbols in there, forget it.
Nope, there's actually not.
Okay, I wasn't looking at it, so.
Actually, it's not. This is directed by Jinrik Polak, who has also directed he wrote the screenplay for Skyriders. Icarus XB1 is his probably most well-known film. Obviously from Prague, Czechoslovakia, passed away back in 2003 at the age of 78. Tomorrow I'll Wake Up and Scald Myself with Tea, starring Petra Kostik, Yuri Sovak, Vladimir Mensik, 1977.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a film I was not familiar with. I had heard the title thrown around a couple times. I know the projection booth had covered it at one point. I'm pretty sure they actually did a commentary track on the Blu-ray release of it, if I'm not mistaken. Story is Jan. I'm going to read this right from IMDb. Jan is a decent, boring man living a decent, boring life as a rocket designer. I'm going to be honest. The idea of being a rocket designer does not sound boring to me.
But I mean, if he's boring, it's like this. Okay, so the part where the fire comes out has to be at the bottom, and then it's really straight going up, and like
put the gas into the gas tank.
Put a point on it because that looks neat. You can put whatever words
when
on
his
it you want.
adventurous twin brother dies in a breakfast accident,
I love that.
Jan decides to impersonate him, unwittingly becoming part of a Nazi time-traveling conspiracy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I didn't do any research on this before watching it, so I had literally no idea what it was about. Okay. And from the get-go, in the opening title sequence, I was just like, all right.
Yeah.
Because it opens up.
Yeah.
And it's basically, a credit sequence with a bunch of news footage of Adolf Hitler in World War II.
Yeah. Dancing.
Played over like the hokiest, cheesiest music ever.
Definitely 60s elevator music kind of stuff.
Yeah. Beach blanket bingo type, like, and like editing with like him like moving back and forth and looking. It's so ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah, at first, because the first thing they do is they show a thing of Hitler, and I'm like, oh, shit, what is happening? And it's just a regular shot of him, and then they start doing the Max Headroom stutter kind of thing, which they did first, clearly. And I'm like, okay, so they're kind of making fun of Hitler. I can get on board with this. Let's go. And then it just sets the tone with the way it looks. Like, so fast.
It really does. It really does. And we watched it with the original audio, so in Czechoslovakian with English subtitles.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we get that. We then meet this group of men that are meeting in an undisclosed location. Now, at this point, I still have no idea. Like, we got all this Hitler stuff, this World War II stuff. Yeah. I have no idea, like, what's happening.
Yeah.
They come in and they're like, hey, so we've got this plan. We've stolen the atomic bomb. We can win World War II.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, so
yeah.
This is 1944, and we're in World War II time.
Right.
But I'm like, people aren't dressed like that.
No. No, in the book, I think they said it in the 90s, the 1990s. Because 20 years we would get to that point, I guess. But
Sure. So they're discussing what they're going to do. They're discussing their plan. They have a pilot that's going to fly them. I assumed in an airplane.
Right.
Because again, I'm thinking it's 1944.
Right.
And they're going to sneak these guys in, and they're going to give Hitler the atomic bomb, and Germany's going to win the war, and they'll have a big Nazi party.
Yeah. Be springtime for Hitler.
Right. So they talk about who's going to do what. They got all these different guys. They're like, all right, great. So then we meet two brothers. We meet Jan and we meet Carol, Karel.
Yeah.
Karel.
Yeah. Like Carl, but reverse the last two letters. Carl.
And add an E.
Yeah.
Kal-El.
Oh, sure.
We meet Kal-El.
Kal-El.
And so we learn that Jan is the brother who works on the rockets and designs the rockets. And Kal-El is the pilot who is also kind of a scumbag and a member of the Nazi party.
Surprise.
Or Nazi sympathizer or whatever it is at the time. Because again, we don't really know what the time period is.
Right.
So they're staying together. We learn that Carol he's kind of like, he's an asshole.
Yeah.
Jan's like, hey, like, you should stop messing around with these other women. Your girlfriend, I don't remember her name. What was her name?
Oh, shit. They said it so many times.
No, Shirley was it Shirley, or Shirley was the one that was with them? Helena was the one that was with Ava. Sorry, Ava.
Mm. Yeah, no.
Ava's a wonderful girl. You should get married to Ava.
Yeah.
Her family's great. Like, what are you doing? And he's like, yeah, well, she's kind of boring and her family's a bunch of weirdos. So I'm just going to keep being a scumbag. And he's like, well, are you going to pay rent at any point? And he's like, no, not really. And then Jan, because he's his brother, gives him his breakfast. Like, he makes breakfast for him and shit. While he's like, you're a piece of trash. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Oh, I made you breakfast.
Right. Well, you got to eat. So.
Got to eat. So Karel then, as was stated in the original summary, dies during a breakfast incident. The breakfast incident is him choking to death on a roll.
Now, specifically, I think it matters what he choked on, but it doesn't matter until later.
Right.
Because I think it's just symbolic. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair. So Jan comes in and he's choking, and apparently this was before the Heimlich maneuver was a thing, I'm assuming. Because again, might be 1944, we're not sure.
Right. But also this is the part that like took me out of it. And go ahead, because
so Jan, rather than trying to like help the roll out of his brother's windpipe, leaves, runs up the street to get a doctor. And then returns with the doctor just to find Karel dead.
Yeah, why? I mean, okay, whether it's clearly the latest it can be, or the earliest it can be, sorry, is somewhere in the early 1940s. Right? That's the earliest we can go back, because they're talking about World War II.
Right.
We don't know how far in the future it can be, but I can tell you that telephones had been invented before World War II. And that prevents the one person from running 10 minutes to somebody's house, explaining to them why they need them to come there, and then run 10 minutes back to the house while a person can't breathe. Right. Because they can then say over the phone, punch him in the stomach. But
any number of things. It was a little weird because, we also see the telephone, so we know that it's there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So either way, Jan is Jan now needs to, he doesn't need to make a decision, but he decides to say, because they're identical twin brothers. The doctor, says, which one are you?
Right.
And he decides that he doesn't like his life and he's bored. So he's now going to become Karel.
Yeah.
Karel.
Yeah. And
says, oh, that's Jan. Jan died.
And the wife called, right? That's what spurred him to that on the spot decision, right? Or am I?
Somebody called. It wasn't. Well, he wasn't married, so Ava. I don't think. Somebody called. I don't remember who. No, it wasn't. So the guys that are the Nazi guys call and tell him what the or ask him what the secret phrase is, because they talk about the secret phrase, and the secret phrase is, where are the suits? And the response is supposed to be like, oh, they're where they belong.
Yeah, in the closet. And it's like, that's like anybody can. Oh, I get it. I see what you did there. Because usually it's something like, the rain brings up the worms, and then somebody else says, the creature from the Black Lagoon only eats snakes, and you're like, great, I like you. Like, stupid shit that like nobody could ever guess. That's the kind of code you need, not, where'd I leave my keys? Where'd you last see him? Oh, good, let's go conspire. Like, what the hell?
Right. So,
sorry.
So Jan is now taking over Carell's life. And tells them that Jan is dead. He goes over to Ava's house. He gets her some flowers, and basically finds a giant wad of cash in Carell's jacket. And there's a bunch of misunderstandings. Whereas, like, I guess he owed money to to Ava's parents, so he gives Ava's dad the money, and then I guess they had made a deal that he would pay the money back when he was ready to get married. So now they're going to get married, and like. The Ava's family, they got some show that's coming up, so they're all jumping on a trampoline.
Typical, like I expected to see a bear in a fez driving a tiny car or something. Because that was how Russian circus that part was.
And I think it was supposed to be because they referred to them beforehand as like that family of comedians or something like that.
Yeah.
So now Jan / Carol is going to what I assumed was the airport, because again, there's no real essence of what the time is.
Yep.
Because it's not like feeling like 1942 or 43, but it's also not feeling super futuristic either.
Right.
Because there's just cars and like regular telephones and like normal stuff. So he gets to the airport, and this is now where I'm like, okay, there's something else going on. Because there's people walking around, there's announcements being made. One of them is like, all right, everyone that's going on their trip to the Renaissance, follow me. Whoever's going on a trip to ancient Rome, come this way. Your craft is ready for boarding. And I was like, wait a minute. Something seems amiss here.
Yep.
So Carol rolls in and talks to some people, and we learn that he's having an affair with one of the girls that works in the office, and now her boyfriend or husband knows about it, and her husband / boyfriend is going to beat up Carell. And then he it gets all kind of confusing. He runs across the guys that are the Nazi guys, and plays like he doesn't know them because he doesn't know them.
Yeah. The brother that died was a womanizer and a fascist, actually.
Yep.
So, what are you gonna do? Kill him?
So they're
Let
like,
him die. I think he killed him on purpose by not doing anything.
So he. They're like the Nazi guys think that he's just playing it coy, and they're like, "Oh no, he's doing a good job." One of the guys is like questioning, "Was like, what's his deal? What's going on? Why isn't he saying anything or whatever?" And they're like, "No, it's fine, it's fine." So then they go to board. What I still at this point was like, they must be flying to Germany in an airplane,
yeah.
And all of a sudden everybody's in spacesuits.
Yep.
And I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Yep.
Okay, so I guess they're gonna fly to Germany in a state of the art spacecraft or a state of the art airplane.
Yeah, why not?
So he's getting ready to be the pilot of this thing. He has a woman who's like I guess would be like an air stewardess in the future or whatever. Her name is Helena. These two, they say they're Americans, but they're speaking Czechoslovakian. Are on the plane, but the guys that are the Nazi guys are like, no, I rented out the whole plane. And they're like, oh, that was for the old system. The new system has more seats. There was a mistake. Sorry, they're going to come with you guys. So they get into the spacecraft, which looks like, those like the old school 1950s Soviet spacecrafts. Yeah. And it takes off like a spaceship. And I'm like, I guess it's a spaceship then.
Yep.
And then they travel back in time.
Yeah.
It's now, and I'm like, I guess it's a spaceship that's also a time machine.
Yeah. And it makes hamburgers and it folds my clothes and
and I was just so it's an interesting and kind of like different take on time travel. But the problem with it was that there was no real explanations of any of this was like happening, because it's not really clearly stated, as you can tell by my review, what the time period is or what the plan is or what's happening.
It's true.
So these guys have stolen an atomic bomb from a museum.
Mm-hmm.
They have smuggled it onto the spacecraft in a suitcase or a, attaché case or whatever.
Yep.
The guy that was the brother that died is supposed to be the pilot that's going to take them. They thought they were going to see the dinosaurs, but he was actually going to take them to 1944 Germany to give, Hitler this weapon so that the Germans could win the war. And we learned that these other guys used to be. Did I bring up the anti-aging pills?
Well, that was the first hint, I think, that it was the future when one of them says, I'm 80 years old. And I'm like, fuck you. You're like 60. And the other one says,
then he's like,
my wife thinks I'm 50 or whatever. And I'm like, okay. I see what you do.
So there's this anti-aging pills. These guys actually were part of the world of World War II, but since they've taken the anti-aging pills, they're able to go back. So they're going back in time to drop it off. They commandeer the spacecraft because they now realize there's something wrong with Carol. He's not the guy. He's either going back on his deal. They don't know that the brother died. Like,
right.
It's a whole thing.
Yeah.
They go back. They don't go back to the right year. The guy that they have playing Hitler is overweight and doesn't really look anything like Hitler.
He looks as good as Hitler as Taika Waititi did because they look the same.
Yeah,
literally the same.
This guy's just
so I could not take Hitler seriously, except for one part, because the actor did a good job. Not anything about.
Yeah. So they the whole thing gets messed up because they show up at the wrong time. There's the other two Americans, the old couple that are with them. The guy that's supposed to be the pilot is now kind of screwing them over. They end up going to meet Hitler, and the whole thing just goes awry. So they then, which is now more of a standard trope of a time travel film, have to travel back in time multiple times, or back to the future multiple times to try to change the mistakes that they've made. And Jan is now falling into the fact that he's supposed to be Carol, and he's going to go back and then make changes, and it gets confusing.
Yeah, a little, yeah.
And I don't think we need to necessarily rehash every little bit of it, but they're going to go back, and then he decides he has a plan where he's going to fix these guys. And, he tells certain people what the plan is, and then he makes some changes. And I think the way that it kind of concludes itself actually is it's pretty cool the way that he finished it off.
Yeah.
And I don't want to give it away because this is not a movie I think a lot of you have probably seen, and I think it's definitely, not to spoil the grading process, but I think it's definitely worth at least checking out. But it gets a little confusing, and the one thing that this film I think didn't really offer you that would have helped is a clearer storytelling mechanism of exactly what was going on and why we were getting there.
Yeah. But it was fun.
Overall, yeah.
So
it was fun. It was funny.
I didn't mind that. It did.
Yeah, I don't want to
go ahead.
No, you can go.
It definitely does get to the point where it's confusing, and you're like, I don't care anymore. It's what it is. It's fine. If this is confusing and there's paradoxes and there's self-correcting, fine. Okay, whatever. Just show me. Just, complete your time loop and show me what you've done.
Right. And I think they do a pretty interesting way of like when they return, they actually return before they left.
Yeah.
So they're trying, is he going to try to save the brother? Exactly. How's it going to go? And of course, as in almost every time travel film, things don't go the way they're supposed to. And it all just kind of like, goes downhill from there.
Yeah. Or was that the brother's plan all along once all that started?
Maybe.
Because
you'll have to watch the movie and find out.
It was very interesting. Like it's interesting to me the way you can read the ending. It's either I don't have the same opportunities I had before to do X, Y, and Z, so now I have to do A, B, and C. I'm trying to be vague, but specific. Yeah. But yeah, I think it leaves in the end the morality of the character. A couple of them are questionable, which is nice.
Mm.
Yeah.
All right, let's grade.
Okay.
All right, Chris, do you recommend, and what is your grade for tomorrow? Wake up and scald myself with tea.
I do recommend this. I did not think I was going to enjoy it. And if you can go into this thinking, okay, it's 1977, and imagine it's 1954. Okay, when this was made. Because it has really charming special effects, and it's not Star Wars, so you can't compare the two. This is a comedy, and I think it sort of works. Not great, especially translated over, from one language to another, and then through text. It's difficult, but there were some genuinely like situationally funny parts that I really liked, and the real early foreshadowing that happened is, it says somewhere I had read that he chokes to death on a croissant, which I figured just symbolizes the French resistance.
Maybe. I mean, but we see him take a bite out of a roll, like an actual roll.
Yeah, I don't know. Just spitball and trying to make my review longer. But no, so I think the time travel stuff was handled pretty well. It plays off as like a screwball time crimes in a way.
Sort of.
But with more steps. So I'm going to give this I liked it. I'll give it a B+. And maybe higher later on.
Fair enough. I'm also going to recommend it. I think, the screwball stuff it works. It's definitely, it's got a very distinct feel to it. I'm not really versed in Czechoslovakian film, so I can't really compare it to much else.
Yeah.
But it's definitely got a very distinct feel to it. I think the lead actor, Peter Kostica, did a really great job in three different roles of himself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I thought he did a really good job of it.
What really helped me?
It's fun.
I got to say this. I'm sorry. I'm going to forget. What really helped is that he looked like Joe Latrulio, who plays Boyle on Brooklyn 911. He looked like he could have been his dad.
Maybe.
And that's what I think his face helped ease the comedy, the goofiness of it a little bit. So I just didn't want to forget that.
Yeah. No, and overall it was fun. It was, it was lighthearted considering it was dealing with Nazis and stuff. Go figure. But it worked. It worked. Yeah. My only really complaint is, and I'm not even necessarily saying it's a complaint, I just kind of wish that the timeline of when everything was taking place was a little bit clearer up front.
Yeah.
So that I wasn't so shocked when all of a sudden they walked into a spaceship.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I missed something.
I don't know. I think it
but
was
either
just,
way, I still liked it.
I think it was just subtle hints. I think they tried to go with a Westworld kind of idea. Like, this is just every day for people. So we don't.
This is what people do for vacations is they travel back in time.
Yeah.
Which is fine. It's fun. And I had fun watching it, and I'm going to recommend it. And I'm not going to grade it quite as high as you did. I'm going to go with a B. But I thought it was really good for considering, like, a lot of times when we get these kind of like out there, foreign films for us, it doesn't always hit over as well as we would like for it to. But this was a nice change of pace, and I think it was a really good pick, and I'm glad Carl chose it.
Yeah, it says a lot for the writers that even now some of the stuff can actually be funny, like how the Americans react to seeing Hitler.
Right.
And the fact that the American man didn't know what Waterloo was, but referenced Watergate. So they were on to our
they definitely play the Americans off as the idiots.
Oh, yeah. And honestly, that's how it is. That's how it was.
It is.
Loud Americans is not a stereotype. It's a fact.
Yeah. And like when they met Hitler, they wanted to get pictures taken with him.
I love it. Which is no different than it is now, except they'd be holding the camera themselves.
Right.
That's it. That's the only difference.
Cool. So there you have it. Tomorrow I'll wake up and scald myself with tea. A B+ from Chris and a B from me. So I would say that you should probably watch it. Okay, next up here, 1989, Rutger Hauer, Joan Chen, The Blood of Heroes, a.k.a. Salute of the Jugger. Here is a trailer. Nope, I forgot to... I always forget to connect the audio. Hang on, everybody. We'll be right with you. Let's see here. Let's see. Where is the settings? Okay, here we go. Here we go. Sound like my mom. Okay, Billy. Connected. And now we can move forward with the playing of the trailer.
Okay.
From the author of Blade Runner and Lady Hawk.
Juggers coming! Juggers coming! They're coming! They're coming!
In a future ravaged by war, all eyes are on Juggers. Outcast champions playing a game of survival.
Punish him! Punish him!
This is the story of Kidda, who has heard tales of a world far better than the one fate has given her.
Is there really such a thing as silk?
She will do anything.
I got speed, I can run. I'll quick for you.
She will risk everything to be one of the Juggers. It is the story of Sallow, banished from a place of honor in the underground Red City because of a woman.
I like the blood of heroes.
Now, this woman will lead him back.
We could play a team from the league.
Theirs will be a journey through a gauntlet of time and trial.
Get her loose!
To that fabled city, where Sallow will challenge the Jugger who took his title.
He could lose that other eye easily enough.
Where Kidda will discover that the world of her dreams is no dream at all.
I don't want the attention of the league.
But I do.
Rutger Hauer,
It must be soft. Skin with no scars.
I like scars.
and Joan Chen of The Last Emperor.
They accepted the challenge! 100 slow! 3
The Salute of the Jugger.
I wanted to win.
It's not over.
All right, the Salute of the Jugger. As we said,
I don't like that
1989.
trailer at all.
It kind of doesn't really paint the movie what it actually is.
No, there's one part that really fucking bugs me about that.
You want to get to it now, or do you want to wait?
Well, no, it's a small thing, and it's only in the trailer, where they say from the writer of Blade Runner and Lady Hawk. Like, dude, you adapted shit. Okay, there were 3 writers on Blade Runner at least. One of them being Philip K. Dick, and then Lady Hawk. You, Mr. Director Man, are
David Webb Peoples.
uncredited writing credits on Lady Hawk. Didn't even make the top 3. Also, the original story was written by Edward Karma. So that trailer is a liar.
David Webb Peoples, though, best known as a screenwriter. He wrote Soldier. He wrote 12 Monkeys.
Yeah, but not at that point.
He also worked on Leviathan. He did work on Blade Runner, and he did work on Lady Hawk.
Yeah.
So he's definitely, he's worked on some well-known films. But he only directed a couple things, and this is one of the 2 things he directed.
Right.
So.
And I'm sure it was the marketing department, not him, that are like, oh, you worked on Blade Runner? Fuck, put that in.
Well, yeah, because it also had Rutger Hauer in it. So
Yeah.
yeah, Joan Chen.
Wait, and Lady
Rutger
Hawk.
Hauer. No, he was in Blade Runner.
No, he was in Lady Hawk, too.
Rutger Hauer was in Lady Hawk?
Wasn't he?
Oh, I don't think so.
I'm going to just...
I also haven't seen Lady Hawk in probably 35 years.
Oh, okay. I thought it was Rutger Hauer and Michelle Pfeiffer.
No, it's Matthew Broderick.
Well, yes, you are right. And Rutger Hauer.
Oh, yeah, all right.
Second
Like I said,
credit,
Lady Hawk
yeah.
is not a film I've seen any time in the last.
Holy
Legitimately,
shit.
it's probably been 30 years.
Alfred Molina's in it?
All right, well, let's worry about this one.
Yeah, if we
This
have
one
to.
also featuring Delroy Lindo, Vincent D'Onofrio, Gandhi McIntyre, and Justin Monjo. So the story of The Blood of Heroes, the Salute of the Jugger, in a future, well, the future is Mad Max,
Yes.
if you want to know. Just not as many cars, and everyone does this weird football hybrid game.
Yeah.
In the future where most of mankind and technology has been wiped out, 6 people travel from place to place playing a brutal form of football with a dog's skull. They hope one day to play in a league in the city. And that's really it. This movie is not long on story.
Yeah.
It is long on people walking through the desert.
And
This
people
must have been a miserable movie
complaining.
to make.
Ugh, the complaining.
This movie looked so miserable to make.
Yeah, it really did.
Everybody is dirty. They're just walking through the deserts of Australia. It's an Australian production. It was made in the wake of Mad Max being, a cultural phenomenon. You can definitely see why as you're watching it that's what they're biting on. That's what they're trying to do with this, post-apocalyptic future. And you're just put in the middle of it and expected to accept what's happening.
Yeah.
Again, kind of like with the first movie, I wish there had been maybe a little a scroll at the beginning of this, or just a voiceover explaining what the Juggers are and where they came from, because you're just kind of thrown into the middle of it.
Well,
And they start talking about the
give you
league.
that thing where it's like with the skull of a dog, and it's like, okay, that's a weird thing to emphasize.
Right.
That's all we get, isn't it? There's not much else.
Yeah. No, that's really it. And
Okay.
they talk about the underground city. They talk about how there's a league of Juggers, but these are and it's the game itself is similar to it's a combination of what would be American football with capture the flag.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, but then
Because you have to get the dog skull, which would be the ball or the flag, and then you have to place it on the stick in the end zone.
Yeah, and it's kind of based so J.K. Rowling stole the idea for Quidditch from this. I'm kidding. I don't know. I don't care. Because you have your runner, you have your defender, you have the one that protects this one. It's basically how your PvP matches in Overwatch are set up. You get the tiny one with the tank, and you go. Anyway, I don't know if that's a viable thing. I just run around like an idiot and blow shit up. So what really harkens to the gladiatorial combat for me is the guys with the chains. And I don't remember what the positions were called, but the satisfaction of hearing that 3-pronged net-looking chain thing swinging around, that was a nice sound effect. Good job, sound department. And it's a brutal game, and it's because life is brutal. So, what are you gonna do? I don't know. They could play chess or some shit, but it's.
Well, I mean, the whole film is super dark and super bleak, and everyone's
grimy,
pissed off, and it's just grim and dirty and nasty.
Yeah.
People are unable to the whole idea is they're going from town to town as this traveling football team essentially. And they beat a team and they claim their dog skull and then move on to the next town. I don't the only idea that to better their lives or whatever is they could try to, play for the league. But then they go this is jumping way, way ahead, but they get into the city and they play in the league game or whatever. And that doesn't look like it's in a much better situation.
Yeah, they talk about it we're going to go from the slums of the bottom level of wherever the fuck Gandalf fell. I know it's in the Mines of Moria and stuff, but don't write in. It's and then they're oh, it's silk, and they shower you with food and bathe you in oil. But the silk is from an actual spider's butt, unprocessed, and the oil is motor oil. And they just are telling you that this is awesome because they're in denial. I just came up with that now. I don't know if that's true, but it's fucking gross where everybody lives. It's better to be outside, honestly, than in those shitty underground caverns. Nobody's better off down there. Well, except the dwarves and Balrogs, but whatever.
So they travel. They pick up Joan Chen. She's the quick. She's the quick. That's the
Right,
position, which is
right.
essentially supposed to be like would be like the running back.
What's really funny
guess.
is they show her in the beginning harvesting dead bamboo in an ash field. I thought that was neat. I don't know why, but I'm like, good for you. And then they show the match and the fight, and the girls, she comes walking up, and I'm like, that team really needs a tiny person, tiny fast person, like that person they just introduced. And then it
Perfect
happened.
timing. So Rucker Hauer plays Sallow. He's like the team captain or the leader of their little band of merry
They're not very
doghead
merry.
footballers.
Yeah.
And he's, Rucker Hauer's doing Rucker Hauer. He's in a bad mood the whole time. He's dirty, angry. We learned that, he used to play for one of the leagues and then essentially had an affair with the team owner's wife or something.
Yeah, it was the upper level. There's still
somewhere he
huge
slept with
class
somebody that he
division.
shouldn't have and was ostracized.
Yeah.
And so the film is them just going from town to town, playing in these games and working their way to try to get into the city. And it is dry, it is dirty, it was windy, it was hot. A lot of scenes of them walking through. They took the time to develop the characters, which I appreciated, but then there was points where they were developing stuff I'm like we just didn't need.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, this film just goes from quote unquote fight scene to fight scene with some talking in between. It seems to generally get a lot of love. It looks like, I was just flipping through the reviews on IMDb and they're really high reviews. I liked this. I didn't love it.
Yeah.
I was feeling empty with the ending. I thought the ending needed to be way bigger battle because then Immoral Joe's there, right? He's the guy that is trying to screw Rucker Hauer over.
Yeah.
And doesn't he never get his he never even gets his comeuppance, right?
I don't remember. I feel like he took off like the assistant in Demolition Man because they kind of look the same. And shit went down and he just took off.
Yeah, because he was like, I want you to basically break this guy's legs and stab him in the eye. And then he just never appears again. And I'm like, okay.
He did yell at some people after the guy that refused to blind his former friend. There is a scene where he's like, what did you do? You got to do it. Yeah. And because they just held him down for the match, which I thought that was a little honorable. It shows a little bit of honor between on the field. I do like that his name is Sallow, which means unhealthy skin color, right? But sallow also is a salt-cured pork fat. So they're out there, and it looks really salty and crusty, doesn't it? Where
it
they're
looks
walking.
very Australian.
So I think it has a double meaning. His name there.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
I like that.
I keep saying the fight scenes, but the game scenes are very brutal.
Yeah.
They're hitting each other with chains, they're hitting each other with big hammers and it's just it's brutal and it's bloody and it's dark. But it just all kind of feels like filler to me. None of those scenes at any point was I like, oh yeah, okay. It just all was like, okay, here's the next game scene.
Yeah, it did feel like it actually felt in some of the scenes like there was pressure to get it done. You ever get that feeling?
I do.
I've never had that watching a movie, but yeah, the scenes felt rushed.
It was just really a lot of the same. Nothing was set. No game other than the once when they get into the city. They're all meaningless.
Yeah.
So when you do a sports film, and I get this is a sports film that takes place in a future world where society has been destroyed, there's got to be a point of trying to get to something. So whenever you see a football movie in the United States, it's always the team sucks, but if they can get into the playoffs, and then you show them starting to win games, and then they eventually make it to the playoffs or whatever. This was just we're going to go from town to town. We're going to play these games. And then we're going to try to go to the underground city and play there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I guess the whole thing, it's now Joan Chun's character is going to get to play for like Manchester City instead of having to play for like the New England Revolution. Like, it's like,
Yeah. But the
like that.
thing is,
Those soccer fans or football fans out there will enjoy that combination that combination just made.
yeah. But the thing is, they think that that's the height of luxury because they live in such squalor that, you know, a clean shirt is amazing.
Right.
It's sad.
Anything else?
No.
All right.
I made myself sad.
Chris, do you recommend and was your grade for the Blood of Heroes Salute of the Jugger?
I would really like to be able to recommend this, but the downtime between matches is so boring and all they do is talk about the same thing over and over again. There's really no other tension once the new Quick joins the team, because obviously she was in the village. We talked about that, you guys know. So I had no doubt all of that stuff was going to happen. Like from the beginning, they're like, "Oh, we'll never get a match. They'll never accept the match in the city." And it's like, yeah, they will. They will, because there's some revenge bullshit that's going to happen. Somebody's one is dicking their wife. So, like, come on. It's going to happen. So I don't know if I can recommend it because it was boring that way.
Okay.
However, Rutger Hauer is good. And there is a decent amount of notable co-stars, which I liked. I would say...
Lindo.
What?
I love Delroy Lindo.
Yeah. I liked seeing him yeah. I don't want to get any more down. So, yeah, I'll recommend this, but I think I don't want to say have your phone ready, but and there's not a lot of trivia for you to go back on and look for this.
No.
But yeah, I don't know. If you really like Mad Max post-apocalyptic stuff, this takes it in a different direction with the sport angle. The dog skulls, which really didn't look like dog skulls halfway through the movie. It's like, what kind of fucking chupacabra foam head did you find? Yeah, so it's a I don't give a shit if you watch it.
Okay then.
But
What's
let
the
me know
grade?
what you think. And I'm gonna give it a C+. I didn't hate it. It was just a little too boring.
All right.
Good use of tires.
That's true. I'm having a hard time giving it a full on recommend. I don't think it's a not recommend, but at the same time, like I was a little surprised because like all the reviews were like really, no, I shouldn't say all, but the majority of the reviews are pretty glowing reviews of this.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give it a tepid recommend. If you're into those, like if you're into like the Mad Max and that stuff that was produced in Australia around that time period, then yeah, he's going to be right up your alley. If you're like a Rutger Hauer completist, for sure. And I always think is like, I can't think of a movie that Rutger Hauer played like a nice guy. Like he was the good guy in this, but he wasn't like a nice guy. You know what I mean?
Blind Justice. He was a good guy in that one. He was the blind swordsman that rode on the bus or something. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Well,
He's
looked at as like, you know, a very good character actor that plays like dark, angry characters. And I know we met him at Rock and Shock a number of years back. And I always think back that like talking to him and having him smile and be like friendly. And I was just like not expecting that because you know him so much from like especially from Blade Runner and stuff.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, totally off point. I was just thinking about that. Like, I remember when I met him,
he can
introduced
also
himself and smiled.
Yeah. He can also do charming and menacing, like in the Buffy the Vampire Slayer movie. I liked him as a vampire.
Very true. So anyway, but getting back to it, yeah, it's good. I don't think it's great. So I don't understand some of the people that are like, this is my favorite movie ever. Like, oh, all right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
So I'm just going to give it a C, a straight C.
That's fair.
I think so too.
Yeah. I'm not one to argue, so.
So, Carl, thank you very much for those picks. Much appreciated. Thank you for your continued support of the show. Next, Joe. I don't remember. No, I do remember. He's going to be looking at the Shining franchise.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So he'll probably explain a little bit at the beginning how he's going to break it up and stuff. But let's see what he has to say about it.
Well, hello, Bill. Hello, Chris. And hello, OTC Nation. It's your boy Joe here, and this week Bill took me to Colorado because he made me watch The Shining. Or The Shinning, if you were a fan of The Simpsons 30 years ago like I was.
Classic episode.
So
Yeah.
I was tasked with figuring out why Stephen King hated Kubrick's 1980 movie and loved the 1997 miniseries. Well, the first answer that popped into my head is the subject of Eric Clapton's 1977 hit song, Cocaine.
Layla.
That magical powder that will turn anyone into an annoying asshole in like 10 seconds flat. I figured it out. Do I still have to watch this?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay. Here's the thing, though. And this is not my thing that I wrap up these things with. It's just a thing. While I can't speak to the miniseries because I've never watched it, I kind of agree with Stephen King. I mean, I don't hate it the way he hated it, but it's not my work to hate. So, it's personal for him. I think The Shining is a very well-made film. As long as you don't ask Shelley Duvall about that. But it's not this like classic masterpiece of storytelling and filmmaking that doesn't belong on the pedestal that it's placed on. It's a horror film for people who don't like horror films, which I can say a lot about modern horror films.
Yeah.
Except for Ty West stuff. His shit is great. I'm sure Siskel and Ebert jizzed their pants over The Shining, but only after shitting on a better horror film that actually explains itself and doesn't make you feel like you've been sitting there for 4 hours. You'll have to forgive me. It's early and I'm cranky and I'm going to see Bad Religion tonight. So
nice.
Indignant 1990s punk Joe is coming out a bit and he wants the world to know. Bear in mind, my opinion of this film was formed when I was a kid, maybe 12. I just wanted to see Freddy and Jason and boobs. I didn't want to see a well-thought-out psychological thriller. When WZZM Channel 13 did their annual horror scare-a-thon movie gimmick, like all the local channels did during Halloween in the 80s, The Shining was always in the rotation. And while I can accept that it is a scary movie, it's definitely not like a spooky fall Halloween movie time scary. And I kind of resented that. It was a scary movie for my dad, not for me. Okay. I am 45 minutes in, and the scariest thing so far is this little boy's haircut. Like, how the fuck do you have a hair mop and a bowl cut at the same time?
I had that haircut.
I could
when
show
was
you
young.
pictures.
I'm kidding. Obviously, it's the 5 heads on these 2 presumably ghostly girls. I could draw a 2-scale map of Montana on these girls' foreheads.
You could land 8-10 warthogs on
I
those
guess that they're
things.
establishing that Jack Torrance has a history of domestic violence and alcoholism. And like, hey, Stephen King, tell me you wrote this about yourself and your problems without telling me you wrote this about yourself and your, yada, yada, yada.
That's great.
So Jack Torrance drags his wife, Wendy, and his kid, Captain Bullcut. I don't remember. Danny. Fucking kid's name is Danny. He drags them to the middle of nowhere, Colorado, to caretake a big-ass resort hotel for the winter. Because they close October to May. And never mind that Colorado is one of the biggest winter destinations in the fucking world. And shutting down for those months would be like Universal Studios in Orlando saying, we're just going to take June through August off. It's not a peak time,
Yeah.
Hong Kong Phooey is there to tell this mildly annoying little boy that he has the shinning and that it'll never be brought up again until near the end of the movie. And even when it is, it's vague. And why is this movie called The Shining if they're not really going to get into The Shining that much? And, oh, wait, that was me. That wasn't Scatman Carruthers. So Jack finally goes what I can only imagine a coked up 1980 Jack Nicholson was probably actually like, and menaces his family for like the next hour. But not before grabbing a cocktail from a ghostly bartender. A ghostly bartender that is pretty obviously like his psyche telling his id that it's time for that thing to take charge, you know. Oh, and you can't forget making out with a beautiful woman that transforms into a not beautiful woman.
That's a good way to put it.
You know the scene I'm talking about. Whoever
We've
did
all
the
been there.
practical effects on the rotting old lady deserved an
No
award.
comment.
I almost gagged. I've been generally negative about this movie as a whole, but a lot of the scenes where either the hotel is guiding him through hallucinations or whether it's like his brain creating the hallucinations and the hotel is just a conduit, but either way, he's gone around the bend, are hard to not watch. It's like they succeeded at the phone test. I put my phone down and concentrated on those scenes. Like, try not to watch these. The human brain's greatest strength is that to fool itself. Like, you're not the problem, they are. You're smart and right, and they're dumb and wrong. And that's maybe the only kind of clear thing in this film is how the hotel plays with his ego and his id. Psych Major 101. Boom, baby. Basically, the whole back half of this film is fucking bonkers with visions and like what's real and what's not. And boy, did they do Scatman dirty here. Brother was literally chilling in Miami, Florida, when this little honky sends his SOS signal because dad's gone 5150 and he requires assistance in dealing with it. So he hops on a plane, takes a snowmobile through a Rocky Mountain storm, kicks in the door like help is on the way, only to get an axe in the heart like 2 seconds later. They jobbed him out like a bitch. He was like the Barry Horowitz of this film.
I was thinking the
If you get that reference, I'm proud of you.
what's
The
her name on
last
screen?
thing before the thing is Jack chasing Danny through the maze in the very famous scene. And when Jack freezes to death, he's making a face, and I can't believe they went with that. Here's the thing. The good. As I mentioned at the start, I'm seeing Bad Religion tonight. I've been a fan since like 91 or 92, and this is like bucket list stuff for me, fellas. Also, despite my not loving this film, I liked it way, 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 way more now as an adult than I did when I was a kid. Like, this is definitely an adult's horror film.
For sure.
Oh, and also, boy, goddamn does Kubrick do visual storytelling so, so well. Like, his sense of style and visuals are fucking incredible. The bad. There's things in the book that my wife reminded me were pretty important that were absolutely not touched on at all here. And it's like, if you're not going to get into those things, like, this movie didn't need to be 2.5 hours long. Like, it's pretty obvious to me that Stephen King put a lot of himself and his own issues into the story and the character of Jack Torrance. So I get why he hates this, because it's obviously very personal to him and they left out some stuff. Also cocaine. He was clean when the miniseries came out, so I think he was maybe a little bit more clear-headed, but also it's like, 7 hours long? I don't know. I'll find out if part 1 of the miniseries hits more right next week. I'm absolutely going to break it up into multiple episodes, because Jesus Christ, ain't nobody got time for that. Until then, be good, everyone.
All right. Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it, dude. Bro guy. All right. Scott.
Yeah.
What do you got?
Candles for the window that I ordered, 2 beta capsules, and my probe droid.
Your probe.
It's
fun night.
rotating
Droid.
right now. It's rotating.
Yeah, I bet it is, you sicko.
What?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah. With Reverend Scott.
Why am I wasting my time with this?
Hey there, Bill and Chris. I killed her.
Who are you? Why did you kill her?
Yeah.
Who is she? Who am I? Where am I?
Shut up. This is my segment, and I'll never tell you anything. Except that I'm Reverend Scott, and this is Holy Shit, the only anti-poodle podcast segment on the internet.
Yeah, fuck poodles.
And this week, I still haven't really decided what I'm going to be talking about. So until I decide, I'm going to spend some time judging your abilities to review movies. And since I'm not in that deciding kind of mood, I'll let you decide which film we should start with.
All right, well, let's get into Video Dead then. Is that cool
That's
with
fine.
you?
I guess so. If you can say it slower next time. Jesus, no one knew what the fuck you were saying. It's Video Dead. And I would have never guessed it from the title, but there's dead people in this. And not only that, they come from the most unlikely place.
And now the weird thing is here, they come out of the TV.
Yeah.
And in a world where the only thing coming out of most TVs are dripping, wet, creepy, long-haired dead girls, it's refreshing to see something different, like creepy dead adults.
What is kind of cool about it, though, is they do something different with the zombies in terms of where the zombies come from. What is uncool about it is they do something different with the zombies and where the zombies come from.
Well, I guess I can take that back. There's also a creepy chick, too.
Where did she come from? Why is she there? Why is she different than the zombies? Why are the zombies still in the real world, but she has to return?
Bill didn't care, though, because it was his favorite part. It was the scene he was most able to, get into.
He just gives into his boner, and that's it. It's a done deal.
Right.
That's really all I remember from this movie, besides the courtroom drama part.
They had to wait for everything to clear probate. Taxes are settled. All right, now we can go kill everyone in the neighborhood because all the legal stuff is taken care of.
Right. Because if you attack before, then it's just way more investigation and stuff. So
I give Video Dead a B for truth in advertising, and I give the review a B as well for boner. Moving on.
You're in no man's land.
Okay. Dark Mountain, 2013.
I'm going to stop you right there. I think we all knew what to expect out of this one.
Yeah, spoiler alert. I did not like this movie.
I'm starting to think you might not have liked this movie. Not to mention this movie was painfully not self-aware of its own blatant plagiarism. And I'm sure no one really noticed.
Nobody's seen Blair Witch.
Anywho, how about you tell me about the plot, Bill?
I'm thirsty. Can you give me some water? I'm like, motherfucker, you're the only one carrying water.
yeah.
Sounds badass. I'm sure it's great. I just wish you would have made it more obvious your real feelings about this one during the review.
It sucks. It's an F for fuck you.
Despite that ambiguous outcome, I give Dark Mountain a D+, and I give the review a B+.
Nice.
Okay, I think I finally made a decision. I'm going to watch a new release to streaming and review it. Specifically, the new A24 joint, Talk to Me. I'll be back in about 95 minutes. Wait here. Okay, I'm back.
Like, what the fuck was that about?
I'll tell you a little bit about what it's about. It's about a girl named Mia who's been through a traumatic event in her family. She's somewhat estranged from her father. She's kind of an outcast at school, but she still has that one good friend whose family has, basically unofficially adopted her into their home. They know she's deserving of people who care about her, and they seem to do just that. But you know how kids be. They sneak out one night to do what most people do anymore.
Hey, you make a lot of money with that now on the internet, which is great.
I mean, do you though?
Jesus Christ, no. They post stupid videos to social media of them and their friends interacting with this mysterious sculpted hand with text written all over it. They supposedly got it from a guy. And
That's where you get all your good
light
stuff.
a candle, hold the hand in your hand, and say, "Talk to me." And that's when you'll see a dead person. And then, if you say, "I let you in," your pupils get more blown out than Lindsay Lohan's after a month-long coke bender, and then the spirit will enter your body. And that's when they take full control of your body. They talk to everyone around. And then, if you release the hand and blow out the candle, you release the spirit. Simple, right?
Wrong.
Because teenagers are fucking stupid and they push everything to the limit.
Well, I guess so.
So when Mia abuses this terrible idea of a party prank to commune with her dead mother, she starts to realize that she may not be able to cope with what she's lost. But can she save her friend's comatose brother who held on too long to this stupid hand and almost killed himself during the experience? I mean, I know, but I saw the movie already. I'm not going to tell you. That would be a spoiler. I mean, Maybe Chris would tell you.
I'm a sour fucking guy.
Basically, this is Candyman, but with like a twist, I guess.
Okay.
So you're connecting with the dead and you live to regret it. But also like Candyman, there's a lot more to the story than just the basic legend itself or the act of doing the thing, such as saying Candyman's name so many times. There's a lot more to think about in this, but my only gripe is just how often you have to wait for those things to happen. And I'm not freaked out after watching this like I was the first time that I saw the Candyman either. Overall, it was a decent watch. It had a pretty good ominous vibe, but it did come across a little bit depressing in parts. So I give Talk to Me a C+, bordering on a B-. And if you want something spoopy to watch this October, I guess you can give that one a try. Okay, that's it for me this week, but make sure you all tune in to Outside the Cinema next week when Bill and Chris decide the show is too dull. So now it's time to really dial up the action.
I'm tired and I just want to go to bed.
I'm going to go take a nap.
All that and so many more naps. But until then, peace and love, guys. Holy Shit with Reverend Scott. Voted most hated podcast segment by those dirty, rotten, no good poodles.
Yeah, fuck poodles.
Talk to Me was made by YouTubers. Did you know that?
No, I thought it was made by Bret Michaels. He had to take the dirty part out so he could get a PG-13.
Talk dirty to me. Talk to me. Oh, I see what you're doing.
Yeah.
No, it's made by guys that did a YouTube channel. That's like the hype movie of the season. I haven't watched it yet. I haven't.
Oh.
I haven't watched it yet. Yeah, a lot of people are saying good things about it, but Scott said some good things and some not good things. So I'm gonna have to just watch it for myself.
Oh, God damn it.
I gotta watch a 4-hour Russian movie. I don't have time to watch a horror
It's
movie.
4 hours now.
5 hours. Yeah, the gume in the $22,000 suit's gonna get empty the garbage.
I mean, what about me? What about?
Thanks for listening, guys. Join our Patreon at patreon.com/outside the cinema. If you are a Patreon member and you want to send us some movies, please do. We will do our best to get them onto the show. As we said, next week we're going to do Shane's pick of Hard to Be a God. Maybe another film. Maybe not. I don't know. We'll find out.
Yeah.
Until then, everyone enjoy themselves and we'll see you next week.
Bye.